If you're a Superman fan, you'll be really excited right now because Jeff Johns has been talking publicly for the first time since he's done this deal with Warner Brothers to have his own production company to develop DC films via Warner Brothers and his new production company. And he's been talking about Superman and then the next step in the next movie. And he's been saying that Warner Brothers understand how important Superman is, and they want to make a direct sequel to Man of Steel. This is unprecedented news. This is unparalleled because of the mixed response of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I'm surprised. I never thought they would do a direct sequel to Man of Steel. That this is really, really interesting because Walter Hamada, there was rumours when he first took over he would look to do a reboot of all DC films, but he hasn't done that. What he's trying to do is create something new within DC Dark, but within the DCEU, continue the franchise, but just fix it and make it more accessible to the mainstream audience, which is very clever because despite what you read on the internet and publicly, a lot of people do love the DCEU. Now, obviously, it's not the love fest like it is over at the MCU, but there is some love for it, and it just needs some fixing so the mainstream audience, more people, can feel the love for it. So very, very interesting. So what next? What's going to happen? We know Henry Cavill keeps on talking about certain Superman titles. I don't think he's coming out saying this on his own. They haven't officially attached a director. Henry's spoken about maybe the guy who directed Mission Impossible Fallout doing it. Again, very interesting. Rumours about Tom Cruise being involved. I'd love Tom Cruise to be involved just because of the power behind the name he has. The man's a legend. So if they could get him involved, even as a producer and some recurring character in the DCEU, for me, that would be a massive coup. As big a coup as having Robert De Niro in that other Joker movie. But I must admit, when I read this yesterday, and Jeff Johns said they're looking to make a direct sequel to Man of Steel, I'm excited because Man of Steel, to me, is a fantastic film. A fantastic film. It's not the perfect film, but it's a fantastic film. It's visually stunning. As I said before, it's like taking some adrenaline, and then when it wears out, you just want to do it all over again. That's what I found with Man of Steel. It was just so... It was an adrenaline pumped, rushed, fueled superhero film. You just don't get CBMs like Man of Steel. It's because Snyder and Goya and Nolan, for me, it was the perfect storm because you've got geniuses like, Nolan and Goya writing it. I think, Chris Nolan's involvement was very important in that film, and it did attract quite a few people to it because he'd just come off doing the Dark Knight trilogy. Everyone was really in love with that. He did, the man. I mean, my favourite Christopher Nolan film is Batman Begins. I'll definitely do a video about that. But, having those three people involved, and I think people are still surprised that Chris Nolan went to Zack Snyder because he is a very controversial director. And even before he even touched BVS and Man of Steel, he was still a controversial director. People had some very interesting views, and especially the critics on 300. I love 300, by the way. But it was a surprise, and it was a gamble. Some say it's a gamble that never paid off. I think, in a way, if you think about the films, and if you like the films, I think it's a gamble that very much paid off. It's cinematic history, because in 20, 30 years' time, people are still going to be talking about Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and the people who love them will still be watching them. I don't think many people will be talking about Iron Man or Captain America in 20 or 30 years' time. So it's very important. So this is why I'm shocked and excited that we're getting a direct sequel to Man of Steel, because to me, it's the right thing to do. Because in the mainstream's eyes, Cavill has never really become Superman for them. And I think Cavill has already shown in his performances in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, he's a bloody good actor. And then again, Mission Impossible Fallout, we see how he can turn it around and not necessarily be this heroic character, but can be this bulldozer. So Henry can do anything because he's a classically trained actor. I hear people saying he's a rubbish Superman. He can't act. You know nothing about acting. I was trained at RADA. I know everything about this industry. I'm involved in this industry in a lesser situation here in Cyprus. But, I know how it works. So this is why I kind of get offended when I hear people talking about acting and what's good CG and what's bad CG. You don't know anything. Watch the film. You don't like it, switch off. Don't talk about things. Don't disrespect people if you don't understand the work that goes into making even 5 minutes of a film or a TV show or anything fictional. But for me, as a Superman fan, and there's a lot of Superman fans who hate Warner Brothers, who hate the DCEU, I am not one of them. I fell in love with Superman via, as I've said so many times, Dick Donner's Superman the movie. I just think that Man of Steel was a bolt out of the blue. It's just so in your face, and I love the fact it's like a Superman Begins. He makes mistakes because he's not the real deal yet. I like the fact that he's people criticised him for crashing into that petrol station with Zod. The point was, all he thought about that this geezer was messing with his mother. I love that bit when he goes, "You think you can mess with my mother?" Yes, that's him being protective of the woman who brought him up. That's brilliant. And when I see that, I'm punching the air because I love seeing Superman that way, that passion. I like it when he groans and he's flying and he's struggling. The opening bit at the oil rig when he's struggling to hold it up. He hasn't got his full strength yet. So he can be overpowered at times, but in Man of Steel you can see that he hasn't got all the experience. You can criticise it a little bit for saying the way he becomes Superman is very quick, neat and tidy. But at the end of the day, a lot of you were moaning about another origin. The origin moves really quickly in Man of Steel. So I also thought that was quite exciting. And the pace of that film was amazing. Now, the question we have to ask now, who writes and directs Man of Steel 2? There's been so many rumours. And I think obviously there's discussions. There must be. They might even be ready to make an announcement. It's pretty clear to me they're going to pick their moment well. A lot of people think, yes, San Diego Comic-Con would have been a great opportunity. I think there's a reason why they didn't. There's so many variables at the moment with the DCEU. We don't know Ben Affleck's future. I'm not sure what's going on with Henry's contract, if he's actually signed. Rumours that he wants more money. I think that's just BS. I very rarely listen to what goes on the internet. I mean, the reason I came to you with this video is because I trust Collider, and I know that Jeff Johns officially is talking about the DCEU because I think they're very comfortable with the direction they're going in now and the content they're going to be giving us. This is why they're coming out. This is why he's talking about a direct sequel to Man of Steel, and it's very exciting. Don't forget, there's a lot of things they can do. There's a lot of strands from the Man of Steel film they can pick up. We know he's still got the Kryptonian DNA within him to populate Earth full of Kryptonians. He has still got the Codex inside him, so that could be a great sequel story idea. And just to see these Kryptonians having to live on Earth and how humans react to that. That'd be a very interesting film. Or they could just do a bog standard optimistic superhero film. I think there will be elements of that. They won't want to go too thoughtful and too dark. In a way, that's a shame. But we do need a Superman film. So after it's finished, as a Superman fan, I want to hear other people say, wow, Superman is awesome. Henry Cavill is awesome as Superman. He's my Superman. People who normally wouldn't watch Superman or pick up a Superman comic book. For years now, I'm fed up of hearing he's too overpowered, he's not relatable because he's an alien. For me, that's why he is relatable. Superman is the ultimate immigrant. That captures my imagination because my parents immigrated to the UK and had me, and I grew up as an English national. That meant so much. His powers to me, as a man now and as a young man, were so cool to see this hero using these powers, flying. Awesome. So for me, there's nothing boring. All they need to do is just give him a little bit more of a personality, and the mainstream audience will come in. We haven't changed as people that much. Superman the movie was very successful. People liked Superman because there was some very serious aspects to the film, but it also had comedy and it also had romance. If you can mix those three kind of things into a film, then I think Superman can be popular again. So I'm really, really excited. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, press the little bell, and we can talk about so many things, because having a big mouth isn't a bad thing.